At least 3 dead, over 70 hospitalized in Ibadan explosion. FCT stakeholders take part in town hall meeting as security challenges persist. 12 still missing after Niger boat mishap as search and rescue operations continue. And on the international scene, aid headed into Gaza after Israel-Hamas seal first deal since truce ended. Oh, hello there and welcome to the News Hour on Trust TV. I'm Sagir Ibrahim. Thank you so much for joining us. We begin tonight's bulletin. Rescue operations are still ongoing in Bodija, Ibadan, following Tuesday night's devastating explosion in the Oyo State capital. 3 persons have been confirmed dead and 77 injured after the dust in the wake of the destruction settled. Take a look at the report.
Since yesterday, our security agencies, our first responders, emergency services, and all other relevant agencies have been working diligently as they carry out search and rescue operations.
That the preliminary evidence that's been gotten is indicative that for some time, people must have been storing explosives in that area. And it is not just fresh. It must have been something that had accumulated for a period of time.
The various hospitals concerned in the management of this patient have sent in reports, and they're all very encouraging. There has been no mortality between yesterday and today. It was only the mortality that was recorded yesterday. And as I speak, the forensic pathologist that we have in the southwest, probably in the southern hemisphere of Nigeria, Dr. Eze, is carrying out a forensic evaluation of the 2 patients that were initially taken to him.
Chaos and panic gripped the entire neighborhood of Bodija and its surroundings in the late hours of Tuesday as an explosion said to have emanated from a private residence plunged the entire community into turmoil. Following this incident, rescue operations have not ceased, with both state and federal agencies working diligently to save trapped victims in the rubble.
Excuse me! At the same time, I said, wait.
The tales of devastation are evident as residents and families are still in awe of the profound destruction, which has brought buildings down and wreaked intense structural damage in the houses still standing. Oyo State Governor Seyi Makinde visited the scene of destruction and afterwards briefed the press alongside his emergency medical team. He assured residents that perpetrators of such acts would not go unpunished.
Since yesterday, our security agencies, our first responders, emergency services, and all other relevant agencies have been working diligently as they carry out search and rescue operations.
That the preliminary evidence that's been gotten is indicative that for some time, people must have been storing explosives in that area. And it is not just fresh. It must have been something that had accumulated for a period of time.
Chief Medical Director of the University Teaching Hospital is reassuring residents that medical attention for the victims has been intensified to avert additional fatalities. There is no doubt that the devastating effects have left unending memories in the hearts of the affected people. The onus is now on government to put in place appropriate measures to prevent the recurrence of such a disaster.
Earlier, I spoke with journalist David Bello from Ibadan via Zoom, and he gave this update.
All right, good evening. David Bello is right live here all the way from Ibadan. Now, I can reliably confirm to you that since the last time we spoke, rescue operations seem to have continued and have progressed. But thus far, since before we left there, no record of a victim was made. But then again, at some point, the governor came to empathize with sympathizers and also show concern. And while he was speaking and trying to calm frayed nerves, one of the structure collapsed. And that called to a point, the appeal that repeatedly to people, especially sympathizers, empathizers that have been thrown in the scene, that scene is still a sensitive place. It has been cordoned off. Now, immediately after that, we had a press conference at the governor's office where the governor gave out some action plan. And part of the action plan was a stern warning that everybody, both structure owners, both sympathizers, both residents, and whoever they may be, they should all vacate that environment. Because structures there, even the ones that are currently still standing, they would have to undergo integrity tests for them to ascertain if people can truly go in there. So he cautioned especially property owners not to be tempted to go back into their properties with attempts to want to pick one or two valuables. He also cautioned that especially those that would want to nurse any criminal mind in an attempt to want to either steal properties of some of the victims, that the police would decisively deal with them. He also told us about the fact that there is already a sufficient database, and as such, they can separate some of the hoodlums that would want to attempt to steal properties and then the original occupants of that estate or that
right,
street. And
yes.
reliably now, also, we have been told that adequate arrangement with hotels and some of the rest rooms around to accommodate on government accounts and finances some of these displaced people for now. As you can see, I am not reporting from the side.
If you're with me, I understand the need for security, especially around the area where the explosion happened. Yes, but then again, are we still sticking to what the governor said earlier with regards to the cause of the explosion? That is the activities of illegal miners. Has there been any statement from, say, the police since the unfortunate incident happened yesterday night?
Now, interestingly, there was an update today during the governor's press conference. He said emphatically that apart from the fact that it was occupants that were into illegal mining, that they have also uncovered the company that owns the property there. The property was owned by a company that rented the property for, or bought the property over as a residential, while some of the occupants started stockpiling explosive. So that narrative still stands, that the explosion was due to activities of illegal miners and stockpiling of explosive in residential quarters.
Okay, thank you very much for that update, David. However, let's talk about the unfortunate victims of this explosion now. We understand that around 70 persons were hospitalized following the unfortunate incident on Tuesday night. However, what do we know about the condition or their state currently? Are they responding to treatment, or have we recorded any fatalities? Let's hope that we've not.
No, according to the official record of the governor, those rescued, the statistic, the data now stands at 78, 77, 78, because it was 77 yesterday, and one was rescued alive today, making 78, while one of the bodies from the rubble was recovered also. So those that are currently being hospitalized are presently in about 4 or 5 hospitals across the state. Now, the directive from the governor today is that they are going to harmonize the hospitals and leave it to 3 hospitals and just 3 private hospitals and 1 government hospital. And then they can pay adequate attention to them. So as it stands, some of them are recuperating well. And according to the governor, they have not recorded, or we have not
That was David Bello there giving update on the situation in Bodija, Oyo State. Moving on to other stories now, the lawmaker representing Ibadan Northwest Southwest Federal Constituency of Oyo State, Stanley Olajide, has corroborated the statement made by Governor Seyi Makinde that the Ibadan explosion was caused by activities of illegal miners in the state. The lawmaker, who is therefore calling for a thorough investigation into the incident, has also confirmed that victims are already receiving treatment at various hospitals in Ibadan.
The quiet city of Ibadan was rocked by an explosion on Tuesday, with residents scampering for safety. On Wednesday morning, the state governor Seyi Makinde allayed fears in many quarters that it was a bomb blast, as he announces that the explosion was caused by activities of illegal miners in Oyo State. This position was corroborated by the federal lawmaker representing Ibadan Northwest Southwest Federal Constituency, Stanley Olajide, while briefing journalists in his office.
You can be rest assured that we are going to look, all hands will be on deck. Part of my report to the speaker will also to recommend some of the short-term and long-term suggestion in how we are going to tackle this. We're in the preliminary stages. I don't want us to put the cart before the horse. We are going to unravel so many things. There could be even more to all of this, so let's not act as if we know all the details yet. But based on the information we know today, we know that we have a lot of work to do.
The lawmaker also commended the quick response of first responders like the Nigerian Police, the National Emergency Management Agency, and the Nigeria Fire Service.
Community policing is actually one of the the smartest way to police your people. Somebody sees something, somebody knows something, they need to speak at the right time. Failure to do so will cause situations like this.
His colleague in the National Assembly also called for the regulation of illegal mining in the state and other parts of the country. Though the death toll of the incident is still unconfirmed, victims from the explosion are receiving treatment at various hospitals across Ibadan.
I just want to further reiterate the position of my colleague that there is need for physical federalism, and that can lead us quickly to having state police. I believe that the president that we have has campaigned based on these promises, and I think and I know that is going to work with the National Assembly to ensure that we have state police.
Meanwhile, the leadership of the House of Representatives has unveiled plans to commence an investigative hearing on the alleged mismanagement of COVID-19 intervention funds expended between 2020 and 2022. Chairman, House Committee on Media and Public Affairs, Honorable Aking Rotimi, gave the hint via a statement made available to parliamentary correspondents. In a communication on the hearing, the chairman of the House Public Accounts Committee, Bamidele Salam, informed that 59 ministries, departments, and agencies of government, as well as parastatals, have been issued notices to appear before the committee based on a schedule of appearance previously made public.
And now to developments in the federal capital. The federal government says it has put logistics in place to address the rising insecurity in the nation's capital, Abuja. The FCT Minister Nyesom Wike disclosed this at a town hall meeting convened to seek measures towards addressing the menace. Trust TV's Habibat Ajayi has more on the details.
The town hall meeting was, among other things, facilitated the interaction between the FCT Minister, residents of Buhari Area Council, community leaders, and heads of security agencies. Concerns were raised by Buhari residents regarding the escalating incidents of kidnapping and banditry in adjoining communities, prompting a call for increased security in the area.
Buhari Area Council is the closest area council to the city. Buhari Area Council, we are having three boundaries of state. Niger State and Kaduna State and Nasarawa State. Because of the inflow of women.
This sad incident was closely followed by another attack on Padangwari village, where kidnappers abducted some villagers and the district head of the village. And most recently, kidnappers launched another ferocious attack on Kau village, during which they injured a number of persons and kidnapped some people.
The FCT Minister Nyesom Wike acknowledged the escalation of banditry in the nation's capital and vowed to make the FCT unsafe for such criminal elements.
Mr. President has given me an approval to provide every logistics required to the security agencies. We'll make it hot for them. All we require from you is their support. Everybody has a role to play.
However, he urged stakeholders to remain vigilant and actively contribute to addressing the prevailing insecurity in the FCT. Habibat Ajayi, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And so in the nation's capital, the Federal Capital Territory Administration says it will remove all illegal settlements and shanties in Abuja to curb the rising insecurity in the FCT. As part of this exercise, the Department of Development Control of the FCTA has directed officers to submit a list of all shanties and informal settlements for a verification exercise. The department said the goal was to identify and address illegal shanties and informal settlements that may harbor criminal activities. The director of the Department of Development Control, Mukhtar Galadima, made this known during the removal of illegal shanties and shops at Durumi 1. He said the move was part of the administration's broader strategy to enhance security and orderly development in the capital city. And away from the federal capital, Governor Ubasani of Kaduna State has held an emergency security meeting with traditional rulers and heads of security agencies over the security situation in the state. The meeting, which was held on Tuesday behind closed doors at the Sir Kashim Ibrahim Government House, Kaduna, follows the resurgence of kidnappings and bandit attacks in Birningwari, Chikum and Abuja-Kaduna Expressway and some other parts of Kaduna State. Those at the meeting were members of the State Security Council, including Deputy Governor Dr. Hadiza Balarabe, Emir of Zazzau, Ambassador Nuhu Bamali, Emir of Birningwari, State Commissioner of Police, Director State Security Services, and the representatives of the military and paramilitary agencies. The governor expressed his total commitment to providing the relevant support to security agencies by creating a trust fund in order to enable them to discharge their duties effectively.
The recent occurrences on that axis clearly indicate the opening of a front on that route, and this points us strongly to the need for renewed focus and coordination. You are also aware of the attacks on citizens and military personnel along the Kaduna-Birningwari route. I must also commend Operation Safe Haven in southern Kaduna for significantly stabilizing Zangon Katap, Jama'a, and Kaura. The officers and men of Operation Safe Haven have helped immensely in containing recent threats to peace and safety. I will, however, appeal to the military and the police to step up their presence in the Tudunburi general area in view of threats arising from efforts to rebuild the community after the unfortunate incident of last year.
As part of efforts to reduce the spate of criminal activities in Nasarawa State, the Commandant General of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, Ahmed Audi, has deployed a special intelligence squad to the state. The deployment, according to reports, has improved security in the area and led to the arrest of several suspects in the state. Trust TV's Abubakar Abdullahi sent in this report as presented from our studio.
The deployment of the NSCDC Commandant General Special Squad followed the frequent burglaries, housebreakings, thefts, and car snatching, among others, in Lafia, the Nasarawa state capital. Expectedly, the squad has been recording successes with several arrests of perpetrators of crimes in the state. To this end, 11 suspects, including 3 members of the vigilante group, were apprehended and paraded by the State Command of NSCDC.
We have 11 suspects here with us at the headquarters of the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, National State Command. They were apprehended in different locations within Lafia Metropolis and also Zaria in Kaduna State. We have a suspect, Abdul Ganiu Abdul Mumuni, male, 28 years of age, the leader of a gang, an ex-convict who regained his freedom from the correctional facility in March 2023, but resumed the act of robbery in October that same year. He has confessed to the crime. In his confessional statement, he robbed about 2 houses around Transformer Street, Ombi 2, in College of Science and Technology, Lafia.
Similarly, the command has also arrested 2 suspects who burgled a house in Lafia where they stole a Hyundai car which was sold in Zaria, Kaduna State.
One Augustine Deji, 49 years of age, and also Ibrahim Muhammad, 36 years of age, who broke into one Adigena Ove house, tied him up, and cut away valuables from his house, which also include a Hyundai 2011 model. The vehicle was also recovered in Zaria, in Kaduna State, where they went to sell the vehicle.
The NSCDC PRO explained that the CG intelligence squad acting on intelligence trailed and arrested 9 suspected thieves who specialize in forceful break-ins, burglaries, theft, as well as forceful possession of their victims' belongings like smartphones, laptops, and jewelries. He said investigations are ongoing, after which the suspects would be charged to court. In an interview, gang leader of the suspect, Abdul Ganiyu Abdul Mumin, admitted committing the alleged offences.
And to other stories outside security, the Federal High Court in Abuja on Wednesday declared null and void the provisions of the Nigerian Broadcasting Code authorizing the National Broadcasting Commission, the NBC, to impose fines on broadcast stations for alleged breaches of the code. Now, the court also ruled that administrative and regulatory bodies cannot exercise judicial powers, delivering judgment in a suit instituted by Media Rights Action against NBC following the Commission's imposition of fines of 5 million naira each on a television station and 3 pay TV platforms in 2022 for allegedly undermining Nigeria's national security by broadcasting documentaries on banditry in Nigeria. Justice Rita Ophelia Jumogobia held that the NBC, not being a court of law, acted above its powers by imposing such fines. The judge commended MRA for its legal challenge of NBC's action and issued an order of perpetual injunction restraining the commission or anyone acting on its behalf from further imposing any fine on any media platform or broadcast station in Nigeria for any alleged offense committed under the Nigerian Broadcasting Code. Justice Ophelia Jumogobia set aside the fines imposed by the NBC on the 3rd of August 2022 on MultiChoice Nigeria Limited, owners of DSTV, Telcom Satellite Limited, TSTV, Trust TV Network Limited, and NTA StarTimes Limited for broadcasting a documentary about the state of banditry and security in Zamfara State, saying the regulator's action was wrong and unjustifiable in a democratic society. And joining us now virtually via Zoom is the Program Director of Daily Trust Foundation, Dr. Theophilus Abba, to discuss this new development. Doctor, welcome to the News Hour. So Trust TV was one of those stations, media organizations fined by the NBC when it let out the August 3rd fine for broadcasting. The title of the documentary was Nigeria's Banditry, the Inside Story. Now, following this pronouncement by the court, do you think this set aside a lot of some of the criticism that was placed on the NBC when it first put out these fines?
Well, thank you very much. And I want to say that this will be the third judgment against the NBC on its attempt to muzzle the broadcast media. In May last year, there was a High Court judgment by, I think, Justice James Okoro, who said the NBC had no powers to impose fines. I think repeating what the judge in today's judgment mentioned, that it is only courts of law that had the powers to impose fines. So it's not the responsibility of a ministry, department, or agency of government to impose fines. That was the first one. Then at the ECOWAS court, it was clearly decided that the move by NBC to impose fines on broadcast platforms over alleged violation of some of his codes amounts to restriction of the freedom of speech, which is contrary to Section 39 of the Nigerian Constitution. So I think, the courts have said again and again that NBC was wrong. Now, when you talk about imposition of fines or penalty, there are other laws, that could be used in order to impose fines or to punish media organizations that violate basic rules. For instance, we have the law of libel, we have the law of defamation, which also covers slander. Slander has to do with anything that is said, which is contrary to the personality of one person or another. So there are already laws in place. So when NBC came up with this code in 2019, saying that it was going to fight hate speech, going to ensure that there are no inflammatory statements, derogatory statements, insults, and even a statement that can cause division in Nigeria. Now, everyone in Nigeria say, no, you shouldn't do that because there are other laws which can handle some of these issues. So we're happy that the media rights agenda, had taken this case to court again and has obtained this judgment. In fact, the media rights agenda has always said that, look, we should be courageous, to take government to court. So that if laws are not in tandem with the Constitution. And that was what media rights agenda has done. And I'm happy that for the third time, the law courts are telling NBC, you cannot muzzle the media.
All right, Doctor, just to mention some sections of the broadcast code which empowers the NBC to impose these sanctions, especially fines. So Section 5, subsection 5, paragraph 1 authorizes the NBC to impose fines on or suspend the licenses of any organization in the broadcast space in breach of the broadcast code. There's also Section 15, sub 5, which outlines the process of investigation and imposition of said fines. And finally, Section 15, sub 6, which specifies the type of sanctions that could be applied, including fines, suspensions, and revocation of licenses as the case may be. However, how do we now expect the broadcast regulator, that is the NBC, to go about carrying out its regulatory function, seeing that it has been stripped of the powers of imposition of these fines, and also bearing in mind that in most cases, suspension of licenses, be it temporarily or permanently, are mostly an extreme case scenario?
Well, I think we will have to go back to the National Assembly to amend that act. You see, because when the National Assembly passed that act or amended the act, because some of those things were not in the act. It was in 2019 that they were brought into the act of the NBC. So the National Assembly ought to have known that, look, some of these powers being given to NBC contravened, was contrary to the Constitution, sections of the Constitution. If you say NBC should impose a fine, what does the court of law do? If you say, okay, if you contravene this law, NBC has to take you to court, then the court would now say, okay, come and defend yourself, of this allegation by the NBC. Then if you don't defend yourself satisfactorily, then there will be a fine. You know, that is what we expect. So, I mean, the act has to be taken back to the National Assembly for amendment. You know, you see, if you look at some of the fines, I think there are about 45 of them. You know, NBC imposed fine on about 45.
Doctor, if you can hear me, just a final question. I don't think Doctor can hear me. Most likely a challenge with the connection. Unfortunately, I wanted to ask Doctor what next for some of these stations that have been fined. Will it be okay if they approach the courts to seek legal redress for a reverse of some of these fines or a refund, if you might add? But unfortunately, Doctor's connection seem to have encountered some form of a challenge. Moving on now. Watching the news update on Trust TV. Coming up ahead. Defying stigma and social pressure, an ex-convict transforms his life after prison. This and many more stories after the break. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with the News Hour on Trust TV. Here's a recap of some of our major stories. At least 3 dead, over 70 hospitalized in Ibadan explosion. And FCT stakeholders take part in town hall meeting as security challenges persist. Moving on to other stories now. 12 people are still missing after the Monday's boat mishap in Burgu local government area of Niger State. The Director General, Niger State Emergency Management Agency, Abdullahi Baba Ara, who confirmed this to Trust TV, said aside the 3 males and 5 females that lost their lives, the remaining victims were rescued by the search and rescue team. According to Baba Ara, the 100-passenger capacity boat, which was heading to Wara Market in Kebbi State, was overloaded with people and goods, adding that the mishap was caused by strong waves and overloading. He gave names of those that were still missing as Saminu Hamidu, Aisha Usman, Hauzi, and some others, including Hajara Al-Haji Kabiru, Hawa Bala, Bello Ibrahim, Arisa Al-Haji Aliyu, Amina Ibrahim, Azima Usman, and Happy Ibrahim. Sources say both mishaps are frequent occurrences, especially during the Harmattan. And hearing in the Offa bank robbery case resumed today before Justice Halimat Salman of the Kwara High Court. Ayobade Akinibosun and 4 others are currently standing trial in the case, which began on the 11th of November 2018. There's the report.
On the 5th of April 2018, some suspected armed robbers robbed 5 commercial banks in Offa, Kwara State, killing over 30 persons in the process, including policemen. Some suspects, Michael Adiku, Ayobade Akinibosun, Aziz Salaudin, Niyi Ogundiran, Ibikunle Ogunleye, and Adeola Abraham were arrested in connection with the robbery. While Michael Adiku died in police custody, the remaining 5 pleaded not guilty. At the resumed hearing today, the 5th defendant, Niyi Ogundiran, and the 3rd defendant, Adeola Abraham, were examined and cross-examined by the defense counsel, Matthias Emeribe, and prosecution counsel, Rotimi Jacob, Senior Advocate of Nigeria.
Well, it's not the fault of the court. It's not the fault. Like my law was taken to election tribunal for 1 year, so that delayed the hearing. There are a lot of other things, strike and all the rest. Nobody like it. That's why we devoted 3 days that we should be able to conclude it this time around. We expect to finish it by Thursday.
Is there any way the testimony that the defendants and perhaps the witnesses have given in respect of this matter can be cut short or discarded, particularly in a capital, in an offense that carries capital punishment? That is why the court's duty at all material time is to be sure that they end up making sure that anybody that will be found guilty must be the person who is guilty, not the innocent. And it has always been the principle of law that it is always better for 9 guilty persons to be set what? Free, than for one innocent person to be what? Condemned. That is why it is not a case where even the court will be in a hurry to deal with.
It is now well over 5 years since the case began, but counsel say there is no cause for alarm as long as justice is served at the end of the day.
And men of the Abia State Police Command on Tuesday invaded the television arm of the Abia State Broadcasting Network, ABN, in Umahia and forcibly arrested a guest, Udensi Donald, during a live program. The director, ABN TV Radio, Ifeanyi Okali, made this known in a statement posted on his Facebook page on Wednesday. Okali described the invasion as a provocation against press freedom and human rights. According to Okali, the police claimed that a senior brother of the guest, one Uche Onwuka Udensi, had written a petition against him over a family matter. He said despite repeated plea by staff for officers to allow the program come to an end before the guest could be arrested, they insisted on whisking him away while the live program was on. Okali described the action as provocative and an act of overzealousness by the officers who obviously acted in clear contravention of the rule of engagement. And most ex-convicts experience post-release humiliation, stigmatization and harassment, leaving them with little hope for the future. Well, Zachariah, who served a 6-year term at the Biliri Correctional Center, has defied odds, leading an exemplary life after his prison term. Hassan Lawan Kuli reports.
A 27-year-old Zachariah has become a mirror of success, applying skills acquired at Biliri Correctional Center in Gombe State. He now owns a shop crafting shoes and handbags. I developed an interest in this while serving my 6-year term in Biliri Correctional Center. One Christopher Peter always encouraged us to learn a skill, saying it was for free and will help us in the future. You see, I am now enjoying it and earning a living from it. Public humiliation is a common plight for many ex-convicts, and Zachariah pays it too. When I was released, people were mocking me and calling me names. But when they realized I was a responsible person, they started lobbying me to teach their children the skills I have. Concern about former prison mate resorting to crime, Zachariah emphasizes the need for support and empowerment, citing a lack of government assistance. One of my prison mates was in drug abuse after being released, but when he got support from Christopher, he is now doing well. You see, we need empowerment so that we can remain responsible people. But for now, we are getting nothing from the government as a support. Zachariah aspires to further his education to make a greater impact on others' lives one day. His story embodies the saying, when there is a will, there is a way. Hassan Lawan Koli, Trust TV News, Gombe.
And the committee inaugurated to investigate the misappropriation of funds in the Fadama aspect of the World Bank-supported JCARES program in Jigawa State has submitted its report. The committee, led by the Chief of Staff to State Governor, says it made far-reaching recommendations in the report for implementation to right the wrongs witnessed in the project implementation. Here's the report.
This investigation was inaugurated in July last year after the state governor discovered during one of his supervision visits to the worksite that money meant for supporting irrigation farmers in some local governments of the state through the Fadama program was tampered with. Since its inauguration about half a year ago, the committee says it has thoroughly investigated all aspects of the farmers' support program, by the Jigawa Fadama Coordinating Office and that of the J-Cares in the state, and came up with the report presented to the governor by the committee chairman, Mustafa Makama Kiyawa.
The committee has done a very meticulous job. We have gone all around to the nooks and the crannies of the project areas in the state, and we have done a lot of investigation and review of the whole project. At the end of the day, we have been able to verify the project. Areas where there are infractions were well noted in the committee, and also areas that need to be improved have been noted and is in the report. And more importantly, where there are identified infractions, appropriate punitive measures have been recommended to His Excellency.
Governor Namadi commended the committee for a job well done and assures that the recommendations will be implemented to the fullest.
Most sincerely thank this committee for a job well done, because the time taken to complete this assignment shows that they have done a very good job. It's almost 5 to 6 months now since the committee was established. They have given earlier on an interim report which we have asked them they should go and complete the exercise in totality. And today, by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they have completed the assignment and they have submitted this report. I want to assure you that after thanking you for this very good job, been very diligent, and I have confidence with the members of the committee, this report has highlighted all the necessary information that we require.
Governor Umar Namadi has over the past month cautioned his cabinet and heads of MDAs against corruption tendencies and economic sabotage by government officials, adding that whoever is caught will be dealt with in accordance with the law.
You're watching the news update on Trust TV. Let's now join Yusuf Akogu for the business news.
Welcome to Business News. I am Yusuf Akogu. The Nigerian Customs Service has set 1.13 trillion as revenue target for Tinkan Island Port Command. The Customs Area Controller at Tinkan Island Port Command, Dera Nnadi, said the target allocated to Tinkan Island Port Command constitutes 27% of the national target. He said in 2023, the revenue target was 801.5 billion, out of which 716.1.5 billion was collected, representing 89% of the target. Nnadi said that Nigeria's economy remains an import generation economy, adding that they will map out strategy that no freight forwarders cargo stays longer in the port to acquire demurrage. As Nigerians grapple with high price of fuel, stakeholders in the oil and gas sector have assured that the Dangote and Port Harcourt refineries will eliminate all bottlenecks in the industry. Their assurance comes on the heels of the commencement of operations by Dangote Refinery, as well as the federal government calls for expression of interest from companies to operate the Port Harcourt refineries. Here is the report.
A major development in the oil industry that shook Nigerian economy and the country last year was the implementation of the removal of the fuel subsidy through the presidential inaugural address on May 29. The development pushed up the cost of living, with house rent and school fees increasing by more than 100%. However, many believe that sufferings might end soon with the historic start of domestic refining of petroleum products that will eliminate dependence on importation of refined products in Nigeria at the Dangote and Port Harcourt refineries. The burning question on lips of many Nigerians, however, is whether the coming on stream of these refineries will bring down the pump price of fuel.
If the fuel reduction is going to really make sense, at least it will make a lot of profit for the job we are doing. So at least that one will be very okay for the Nigerians, both the vulnerable Nigeria poor people, like we that we are working towards our, a daily basics, So if that one will be reduced, if it reduced to the total of maybe up to like 400 naira.
Where Nigerians are excited, stakeholders in the oil and gas industry are engaging the Dangote refinery, demanding that the price list of petroleum products that will be produced be made available.
the PMS is being refined in Nigeria. It doesn't incur much expenses compared to before, when you have to import it from Russia or another country to bring it to the country. So Dangote too, he buy the commodity without subsidy. That one is obvious. So he has to use dollar in buying that product, and he has to calculate the price, and then he put his own profit margin.
With oil marketing giants like Corn Oil, Double One PLC, Total Nigeria, Adova PLC, MRS Oil, OVH Energy Marketing Limited, and NNPC getting the nod to sell Dangote Refinery's products, where does this leave the independent petroleum marketers?
There is no way Dangote will leave independent marketers, because they have the highest numbers of retail outlets in the country. Almost 80% of retail outlets in the country is owned by independent petroleum marketers.
Dangote Refinery has already received 6 million barrels of crude oil, paving the way for production after overcoming early supply challenges. The refinery boasts of capacity to load 2,900 trucks daily, with strict adherence to international standards. Dangote and Port Harcourt refineries both have a combined full capacity of crude oil refining of 860,000 barrels per day.
Now to the stock market. Nigerian stock rally again pushes NGX all-share index to more than 90,000 basis point mark, first time in the history of Nigeria. And this, of course, investors have positioned themselves strategically to, ahead of full-year results, corporate actions, of course, like dividends. Let's look at the bullish run that we see today on the floor of the Nigerian stock market. Of course, the bullish run indeed continue. Let's look at the stocks that actually driven the market. We have the like of Sterling Bank, Japan Gold, and of course, Transcorp Nigeria, all doing so much today. 106.140 million volume of shares, 101, and of course, 90 million volume of shares respectively between, of course, Japan Gold and Transcorp Nigeria PLC. This is a very good performance, you say, with investors buying so much in these companies. And that has pushed the index to 2.38%. Another huge gain, again, you say, for the market this Wednesday. Of course, the gainers for the day, we have the likes of Guinness recording 10%, Wema Bank another 10%, and of course, Honeyflower also recording a huge 10% as well. As usual, like we always say, when there are gainers, there is certainly going to be some losers. And here today, we have the like of RT Briscoe losing 10%. Dangote Sugar again yesterday, profit taking brought it down to 9.95%, and of course, NGS Group itself also down 9.84%. These are the highlights of stock trading as we see today in Nigeria. Let's look at the stock market performance across the rest of the world. Finally, in business, crude oil price fell more than $1 on Wednesday as economic growth in China, the world's second largest crude oil user, slightly missed expectations, raising concerns about future demand, while US dollar strength dented investors' risk appetite. At the London market, the Brent crude sells for $77 per barrel. For the OPEC basket, price steadies at $79 per barrel. And that's business. I am Yusuf Akogo.
Thanks to Yusuf Akogu for business news. And now on the foreign scene, humanitarian aid for the besieged Gaza Strip has been shipped under a deal brokered between Israel and Hamas. The aid, which includes medicines for the Israeli captives that Hamas is still holding, was making its way from Egypt on Wednesday. More than 100 of the 204 or so captives taken by Hamas during its assault on Israel on October 7 were freed during the week-long pause in fighting, which followed lengthy negotiations mediated by Qatar and the United States. In exchange, Israel released hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. However, efforts to return Israel and Hamas to the negotiating table have been faltering ever since. Israel has said it would not halt its bombardment of Gaza until the captives are all released and Hamas destroyed. But Hamas says it would not release further captives without a full ceasefire. The aid will be delivered to the International Committee of the Red Cross. Once it crosses the border into Gaza, it will be handed over to Hamas. Let's now join Emmanuel Fashibi for Sports News.
The Minister of Sports, John Owaneno, has called on the Super Eagles to ensure they beat host nation Cote d'Ivoire in their Group A game on Thursday at the ongoing 2023 Africa Cup of Nations. The minister advised the team to make amends for Sunday's 1-1 draw with Thunders of Equatorial Guinea by taking all 3 points against the Elephants of Cote d'Ivoire. The minister charged the team to be resolute, assuring that the government and people of Nigeria are behind them. He urged them to be mentally superior for the entire duration of the game, as a victory will boost their chances of advancing to the next round. The game is bid for 6 p.m. Nigerian time on Thursday, 18th January 2024. Ahead of the 2024 ITTF World Team Table Tennis Championship, Team Nigeria men and women's table tennis has been handed a tricky tie. According to the draw held in Busan, South Korea, Nigeria's men's team has been drawn in Group 5 alongside Asia giants Japan and Chinese Taipei, as well as the Czech Republic and Madagascar. The Nigerian women's team has Germany, Slovakia, Poland and Mexico to contend with in Group 3. The top 8 teams from the tournament will get automatic tickets to the Paris 2024 Olympic Games in France. And that is sports. I am Emmanuel Fashimi.
And that wraps up the news hour on Trust TV. Do also follow us across all of our social platforms and catch our live stream on YouTube for more news, programs and documentaries. I'm Sagir Ibrahim. Have a good night.